Hello, 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 hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome. Thank you so very much for being here. Benny, are you ready? Are you ready to have this frothy conversation with Brett? You know
Yes,
what? Actually, before we do that, how about we explain to everybody who's new to frothy conversations exactly what that Benny-ism is?
Well, it actually comes. Oh, thank you for having me, Kim, and it's a pleasure to be here with yourself and Brett. It's going to be a frothy conversation indeed. So, frothy. There's a debate about the word frothy between the west coast of Australia and the east coast of the US within surf culture as to who came up with it. It's very common within surfers, snowboarders, sometimes skaters. It's like that feeling of being effervescent. That's a word I know you love, Kim. And it's kind of like that. And I love frothy because it's about bubbling to the surface. And I know Brett's all about that as well, helping people find their freedom. And so it's also slightly dangerous because where there's frothy, like it sits right on the edge of your cup and there's a chance that it might go over the edge. And I think in these day and ages, especially with, all the things that are going on, we need to start exploring those frothy edges and testing ourselves a little bit more. And it's also where we find flow states. So I say froth states lead to flow states. And so I love to talk about froth, as you can hear. And I'm absolutely frothing to introduce our guests and also to introduce you, Kim, founder, CEO, creative genius behind Positive Prime. And for any new listeners, Positive Prime saved Kim's life. And so the mission of Positive Prime is to make people happier and also save a few more lives. And that's what we're witnessing at the moment within our community, which is amazing. So thank you, Kim. And I'm going to pass over to Brett in a moment, but I'm going to give him a quick intro. Brett D. Scott is a multi-award-winning metaphysical mindset coach. I'm going to dive straight into that. Best-selling author, international TEDx speaker, and podcaster. Brett's aim in life is to positively impact millions, possibly billions, of lives in a way where they get to live their life full of freedom, or their version of freedom, and however that looks. At the age of 39, Brett had a major breakdown, which was a massive financial factor causing the demise of his 12-year marriage to his wife, who was months pregnant at the time. Fast forward to 43, Brett finally cracked the code to allow him to truly start his life's purpose, which we're going to find out a bit more about now. And in Brett's words, he is the world's first true late bloomer thought leader. We're going to have to dive into that one as well. And he runs freedom coaching. And so welcome, Brett. Welcome to the Positive Prime podcast.
Thank you, Benny. Thank you very much. I've got my coffee here made with friggin' love. And hey, I am super excited. Kim knows how much I love her and Positive Prime, and you're a legend too, Mr. Benny. And look, you said Positive Prime saved Kim's life. And in fact, I was telling Kim this yesterday, funny enough. We had a chat individually, not on a podcast. And I said to her, do you know what? My original business name was Be Positive Mindset. And the reason I changed it within a couple of weeks. I had to go and re-register Freedom Coaching, and now I've registered Supercharge Freedom because I've gone next level, right? But I said to Kim yesterday, being positive actually saved my life. So it's not a coincidence that Kim and I have this, association. Although I would say Kim's fight was definitely a tougher one than mine was. And so, and the reason I changed it was I said, being positive didn't change my life. It saved my life. But what changed my life was the idea of what I wanted for freedom, or my version of freedom, like you mentioned in my intro, because, everyone has a different picture of what that is. And I thought, if I'm going to be a coach or a mentor or a guide in this space, then what do people really want? Like, what are they actually looking for? And the one common denominator that I could see was that most people were working towards living a life of freedom, and a lot of the time weren't getting there. They were stuck, and so I thought, and I constantly think, I should say, not just thought, but I constantly think, how do I improve what I'm doing? How do I constantly upgrade what I'm doing? And of course, it starts with me. and hence positive prime is definitely one of those tools that I use daily, and it makes a huge difference, you know. And I was also saying this to Kim yesterday, that, you know, I've had these, I wouldn't even call them debates, but I've had these moments recently in life where I've been tested on my positivity, as in I've been tested by some people who would say, you know, why are you always so positive? You know, what's the point? Like, don't you work on the things that are, you know, that are let's call it the shadow work, or let's call it the, you know, aren't you really facing the issues? And it's like, well, how do you actually get out of, you know, those moments? As in, absolutely I do. You know, if there's something I need to look at, there's a root cause, I'm going to go and do it. But, you know, but at the end of the day, the only thing that pulls me out of that is focusing on what I truly want. And, you know, we live in a world of duality with the universal law of polarity, which dictates that everything has an exact and equal opposite. And therefore, I know positivity gets me out of that. And so, you know, I'm blessed, and I know you are. We're blessed to know Kim, and I'm so grateful that she didn't give up, because otherwise we wouldn't be on this journey with this part.
I love it. I love it. I love it. I was saying to someone yesterday, what I think happens as we get ourselves into this state or this place of being where an obstacle or a challenge or a significant and serious problem no longer feels daunting. We don't want to go so far as to say we're excited by it, but sometimes we can actually be pleasantly surprised at how we've evolved so much that we can approach it with this attitude of, this is solvable, and this might even be fun to solve. And I think that that's the differentiator for those of us who are positively primed and those of us who are positive, is that we arrive at our problems in a completely different state and place, which means often we come to more elegant solutions a whole heap faster than most people. And it's a little bit like putting the oxygen on yourself, you know, the mask, before you do a child or somebody else that you're helping. What you understand is you buoyant actually literally allows you to be the lifesaver to others. You've got the life raft. You are the life raft. And so I think that you become this incredibly strong and courageous person in other people's lives. And Brett, in terms of strong and courageous, I know you've got this thing with Superman, and he's strong and courageous. So tell us a little bit about your Superman, or you as Superman.
Yeah, you know, I loved everything you just said, Ben, and I totally agree. And I was about to go on take us on a tangent with that, but I'll move into Superman, which is when I first started my coaching business, which was back in middle of 2019. One of my first clients was a photographer. Or I should say, he's a photographer. He hasn't stopped doing it. And he said to me this one day, "Why don't you bring over some fun stuff for the shoot, not just your suits and ties and all of that?" And I remember thinking to myself, "What fun stuff? What am I going to bring?" And then I looked in my closet, and I had this Superman T-shirt, as in a Superman emblem T-shirt, and I thought, oh, maybe I could wear that under my shirt. Oh, I could do this Clark Kent turning into Superman. And I did it, and when I put it on social media, people were like, "Oh my gosh, this is amazing! This is incredible!" And I thought, "Oh yeah, thank you, that's lovely." And then it hit me. I don't know when it hit me, but it hit me like a ton of bricks, because I said to myself, holy heck, I actually was Clark Kent. Like, I was living, and let me rephrase, I was living my life as Clark Kent, as in I was hiding, as in I wasn't really prepared to, you know, show myself properly. And, you know, what does Superman stand for? He stands for truth and justice. And I got to tell you, I wasn't standing for those things. I really wasn't, you know. And I jokingly, and it's not a joke, I jokingly say to people, my old self, my past self, was such a people pleaser. I was never really, being truly honest, first of all, with myself and then with others. I was never really showing up, the right way, or I was cautious, or, oh, what are they going to think? And I realized that I no longer needed to live like that. And I actually was showing up as my version of Superman. And so I carried that through. And let me go back a little bit, is that Superman, it's not just a t-shirt in the cupboard. Like, that Superman fascination has been with me from the age of 1. In fact, my mother reminded me one time, and it stuck in my mind because I don't remember it, of course. I was 1. She said, at the age of 1, or she said, might have even been younger, you were nagging me nonstop to buy this Superman costume. And she said, and I absolutely refused. And she said, and the reason I refused is I was so concerned that you would put on the suit, get up on the roof and jump. Because I was very adventurous. I mean, very adventurous. For a 1-year-old, I was the most adventurous 1-year-old you've ever come across. Anyway, fast forward to about the age of 3, and I'm still nagging her. She says she went and bought me a Batman costume. She thought, Batman, he doesn't fly. Surely Brett knows that. Well, no, Brett doesn't know that. And Brett gets up on the roof and he jumps, thinking Batman can glide. But Batman couldn't glide. Well, this Batman couldn't glide, I should say. And I landed in a rose bush, and let's just say nothing was broken, but there were a few scratches from the rose bushes I landed in. And anyway, so the point is, all through my life, though, not just that early experience, but all through my life, I've carried this fascination. I even have a tattoo. I won't show you. It's not in a spot where you can just flash it. But I've carried that the whole way through. And so now I've become my version of Superman. I've changed my way I show up, as in I don't show the Superman licensed product anymore because I'm moving into a different level. And so I've got my own emblem. And so now I am supercharged, and I have a supercharged emblem that if you get on my socials, you'll see that I use it a lot. So you'll see it all the time. And so my new business, as I mentioned before, is Supercharged Freedom, because that's exactly what I do for people. Is I really work out what do you need, and what are the things that are holding you back. So what is that shadow work, perhaps? What is that unforgiveness? And we work through what is going on inside of you, so that externally, when you make the decisions to move with action on different things, different businesses, different relationships, that you're actually going in almost cleansed. You've got this new inner stuff that's going on that allows you to shine and work a different way. And then you've probably had it. I definitely had it. I'd be hitting this invisible glass ceiling where I would self-sabotage. I'd find a way to stuff it up every single time now that I can look back. But yeah, I hope that answers the question on Superman. He's important.
Penny, did you ever have a character you really wanted to be? And it's funny because we're all about positive psychology and neuroscience here. And of course, there's the very famous Professor Amy Cuddy at Harvard, who's done a TED talk on the Wonder Woman pose, which is, really a test. When you're feeling powerful, you actually produce more testosterone, and it's actually perceivable. And people, unbeknownst to you, can actually, it's almost discern that you've got this different hormone in your body, and people actually react to you differently. And there's some great scientific research around that. I must admit, I don't think that I wanted to be super Wonder Woman. And yet I am a cyborg now with my own pacemaker. So it's almost like I've become one of those characters. I'm powered in a different kind of way. That's actually I had never thought of that. Anyway, so Benny, over to you.
Yeah, I think I was a bit of a Batman fan. I loved all of them, but yeah, I think Batman. I remember the old movie where Batman's, when they would punch and then the screen would come up like pow, like you wouldn't actually see them hit each other, and you go, meh, yeah. I used to watch that over and over as a kid. I think the difference is with Batman and Superman is that Superman was always like superhuman, and Batman was like to the nth degree of what you could be as a human. It was kind of like the vibe within the cartoons, and I found that pretty interesting to play with as well. And I'd love to get your take, Brett, because you are a metaphysical mindset coach.
Yeah.
I'd love for you just to explain a little bit about what that means, and does that traverse into the realms of Superman at all?
I love what you said there, and especially with Batman, because Superman is an alien. Let's put that out there. He's an alien, right? And he has these superpowers which are generated from our sun. The sun, creates these different powers within him. But when it comes to Batman, you're 100% correct. He pushed his body and mind to certain limits so that he could show up as the supercharged version of a human. And it's interesting because even though I love the alien, which is Superman, I probably would more align myself to working the way that Batman does, because everything that we can do in life really depends on what goes on up here, not in the physical sense as in the brain, but in the partly because that's our switching station, but through the mind. And so the stronger your mind is and the more work you put into your mind, the more abilities you have, and sometimes even miraculous abilities. Kim's experienced it. I'm sure you have. I definitely have. I've had moments where I think, it just doesn't seem possible. How could that possibly happen? And the beautiful thing about it is that you've done it. That's the thing that really hits home to me, is when you've done the work and you see this external result, you feel powerful. You feel like, oh my gosh, I actually did that. And so that's kind of, when I went on the journey initially, like before I decided to become a coach and a mentor, for me, it wasn't about that. It was about, I realized that at a particular point, I think it was probably October, November of 2018, I remember thinking, there's just something I'm missing, as a person. Like, there's just something I'm not getting. Like, why do I keep making these mistakes in life? And why can't I really, like, I've always wanted to be successful, and in my 20s, in my 30s, like a lot of people, and got to my 40s. And then finally I realized, I knew, like I had an epiphany with tears coming out of my eyes, listening to Bob Proctor preach at me. And not individually, but, in a workshop that I was doing. And I knew I was going to be successful. And that vision of success was more about knowing that I was never going to go through those crashes and through those sabotaging moments. And then moving forward, as I just mentioned, my view on success is completely different. And I'm taking this question on a very wide tangent, but I think it's really important because, this is where a lot of people get stuck, is we have these understandings or awareness of what we think it is. We have these beliefs. We make decisions based around these beliefs, and some of them are good and some of them are holding us back. And so my vision of success when I first started on this journey individually for myself, not for anyone else, I thought success was, like most people, nice big home and lots of money and being able to travel and live where I want to live. And yeah, they're still very important. But is that what success is to me now? No, not at all. Not even close. In fact, success to me is such a simple thing that most people would probably, if you haven't experienced it, would think it's quite insignificant. But I tell you, it's probably the most significant thing that has happened to me multiple times. And every time it happens, I feel the most joy I've ever felt in my life. And that is when you can actually witness yourself and you can look and go, oh my gosh, I've actually grown. When you can see your own growth, when you can see how much you've changed, that is powerful. And that to me is success. And so every time I have those moments, because, it sounds like a cliche, success is a journey. Yeah, it is. Success is not the goal. Success is not the result. Success to me is those moments where you can actually see how much you have grown, how much you've expanded, and maybe, or definitely is for me, but maybe for most people, it might be how much can I impact others in a positive way. I've probably gone way off track on that question you asked me, Benny. Do you want to remind me what it was?
That's totally fine, mate. That was such an awesome riff. That's what we do here on this podcast. It's just riffs. Take it wherever you want, and we'll just weave it all back in. I think the question was about metaphysics
Metaphysics.
how that
Yeah.
plays.
Well,
Yes.
yeah. I probably answered it not in a direct way, but it kind of is that, because the only way I've been able to get to that point of seeing that success that I now view success is by actually doing the internal work, like the internal changes. In fact, I look after a lot of business owners and entrepreneurs, and they'll be saying to me initially before we start, oh, what marketing funnels and blah, blah, blah are we going to be doing? And I'll say, no, the work I do is not really that stuff. I've got people who will come in and will give you some outlines of different things, but the work I do is even more powerful than learning and understanding those things. Yes, they're important and you need them in business, but what I'm going to teach you is how to actually internally know that you're going to do those things, like internally feel and visualize and emotionally connect to that image of what it is that we're actually going after. And we do that consistently and persistently over this period of time. And then you're actually going to find people, opportunities, circumstances come to you. This is the miraculous part, and I think this is where, especially going back to when I first started for myself, that was the real shock to me, because, even before I hired the first coach that I hired, my current reality was definitely not. If you looked at my reality, you'd say, how the heck are you even contemplating doing this? Because she wanted $10,000, and my current reality was I had no savings. I was like paying probably more than what I was actually earning. So I was like capped out in what I could actually potentially pay. I had bad credit. I didn't feel like a good investment. So I really didn't want to ask anyone to borrow money. And so what she taught me, this coach, before I even started, was actually how to make a better decision, actually how to make decisions. In fact, I remember last year he was actually promoting like a sponsored ad. He was promoting, come and learn the skill of decision making. And I was like, yes, he's hitting the nail on the head. It's probably one of the most important skills that I learned, and I learned it before I even paid any money to this coach, which helped me to pay her, and so it's one of those things where most of us are looking at our current reality, thinking about our past history, thinking about how far away this big thing is that we think we want to go after, and feeling so disconnected to it that we get so confused, we get so polarized that we say, and this is exactly what I used to say. In fact, this is what I said to so many people now that I can look back, like Steve Jobs would say. I would say, can you give me a couple of days to work it out? Or I might say, can you give me a couple of days to think about it? And she said, her name was Mariko, by the way. She's in Vancouver, Canada, originally from Japan. She said to me, no, immediately. As soon as I said, can you give me a couple of days to work it out? She said, no. And she shook her head and was looking at me like, why would you even say that? And then she said to me, sorry, I said to her, oh, well, look, I don't think I can do this. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, well, to be honest, I don't have the money. And she said, it's not about the money. And I was thinking, what the heck are you talking about? And she said, no, it's not about the money. She said, look, would you like to learn how to make a better decision? And I was baffled. I was like, okay, sure. And just a premise, the thing was, I had an experience with someone at Bob Proctor's head office that annoyed me and frustrated me. And there was a letter that I wrote to Bob, a big long-winded email, should say, not letter, big long-winded email, which I didn't actually click send on, I deleted, but energetically I sent it. And so I was connected with her via something that is just as miraculous. Like you'd say, how did that even happen? And so I knew that this was the coach I was going to work with. I was just stuck thinking, how the heck am I going to do this? It's a lot of money. I'd never invested that sort of money in a coach before. And anyway, I'm going to give this is a free lesson for everyone, because it is the most important lesson that I learned. She said to me, okay, in life, most of us are brought up, taught to make decisions based on whether you think you can or think you can't, whether you have the money or whether you don't, whether you whether you think there's even a possible way, and you can actually, you know, maybe have a bit of a plan on how you're going to do it before you say yes or no. And I thought that's pretty logical, right? Most of us are brought up that way. And she said, it's not the right way to really expand your life. And she said, and so I'm going to ask you this question. It's very, very simple. There's only one answer. It's either yes or no. And she said it this slow as well. She said, do you want to work with me? As if I was a fifth grader. And I said, yes, I definitely do. I knew it. And she said, good. She said, how do you feel? And I said, I feel good. I still don't know how I'm going to pay you. I feel good. She said, that's okay. She said, I'll give you a couple of tools that I know have helped other people to manifest the ability to get started or to even pay it in full. And she said, in 2 days' time, we'll get back on a call and you let me know how you're actually going to pay for it, and we'll get started. How does that sound? And I said, and I was starting to feel it. I said, yeah, okay, that feels good. And in 2 days' time, an hour before our meeting, I was no further ahead. I thought, oh my gosh, this is not going to work. I'm not going to be able to do this. And then somebody came to me, an hour out, somebody came to me, a friend of mine, and said, what are you doing? And I said, do you mean right now, or do you mean in the future, or what do you mean? And they said, no, what are you doing right now? And I said, oh, well, right now I'm actually racking my mind trying to think about how I'm going to get started with this coach. Oh, what do you mean? Anyway, I explained the story and they said, oh, how much do you need to get started? I was like, oh, I need, this much to do a deposit or this much in full. And they said, well, if I gave you the money to get you started, do you think you'd pay it back? And I said, what? I hope so. I said, look, there is a way that I can do it, that this coach has said I could become her affiliate. And so I thought, okay, I have no idea what an affiliate was, but I kind of thought I'll do whatever it takes. And so the person lent me the money. Now, within 3 months, fast forward, within 3 months, I'd paid back the loan. I'd paid off the entire program. I became her head affiliate because I was so good at it. And then 6 months later, I ended up becoming a coach. I met with Bob Proctor on a Zoom call like we are right now. And without telling you the whole story, he said to me, what are you going to do? And in fact, this is exactly what he said to me. He said, because it's stuck in my mind, I've got it recorded as well. He said to me, Brett, do you know, in the whole time that I've been doing this work, and by the way, if you don't know who Bob Proctor is, he's 87 or 88. And he'd been doing this work at that time for over 57 years. And he said, I've been doing this work for a long time. He said, I've never met anyone more ready to do the work that you're about to do, because I told him the story. And I've been following Bob Proctor for 13 years at that time. So, and it hit me like, and as soon as he said it, I said, I agree. I instantly said, I agree with you. And he said, good. He said, what are you going to do? And I said, I guess I'm coming to work with you. And he said, yeah, you are. And I felt sick to my stomach, by the way. It wasn't an easy decision and it was a big investment. And again, I didn't know how I was going to do it. I had some. I didn't know how I was going to do this. But every single time, that particular lesson that I've just taught everyone, all you need to do is just make a decision. Do you want to do this? Forget about whether you think you can or can't. Forget about whether you got the money. Forget about everything. Just make a decision within yourself. We all have intuition. It's all every single one of us. I'm going to take us on one other quick tangent, and I'll tell you what reinforced this idea about decision making. In the book Think and Grow Rich, which, if you know Bob Proctor, it's his Bible, by Napoleon Hill. In that book, the one thing that's really stood out to me, and there's a lot of things, if you've listened to me, if anyone's listened to me for long enough, they'll know I pull things out of this book all the time. But the one thing that stood out to me when I first read it is he said, of the 500 of the most successful people that I interviewed, and by the way, he'd interviewed more than that over a 25-year period before he wrote this book. And there's a really interesting story about how he wrote this book, but I won't go into that. Anyway, he said, of the 500 of the most successful people that I interviewed, the only thing, and he said, literally the only thing, they couldn't agree on anything else, is that they all made very quick decisions and they changed their minds slowly, if at all. And he said, of the people that that I met that didn't have the same success, what I noticed or what I recognized is they all took a long time to make up their mind. In fact, some of them didn't even make a decision. If they did, however, make a decision, they changed their mind frequently all the time. And that hit me, especially that last bit, because I thought, I'm that idiot. I'm that idiot. that's why I'm doing these stupid decisions. That's why I can't make a decision. But I remember saying to myself in January or February, because actually Jack Canfield asked me this question when I was on his show talking about success. He said, I just explained the recipe of success that I felt worked for me. And he said, look, what would be one thing out of all of that? What would be one thing that you think has had the biggest impact on helping you to have the success you've had over this past year? And I said, I'm glad I've got an answer, which is in January or February, I remember saying to myself, why do I take so long to make decisions? Like, why am I stuck with this? And I remember hearing in my head, as I'm sure we all do when we have these internal conversations, right? I remember hearing, you're afraid of failing. You're so afraid of failing. And I'm sure that resonates with a lot of people. And so I said, okay, well, I can't accept that as an excuse anymore. So how am I going to get around that? Without telling you the long-winded part of it, I said to myself, how about we ask ourselves a question so that we don't get caught up in that conscious thinking? Because what happens when we do that? What if this and what if that? And maybe this one and maybe that one. You know, we confuse ourselves. And that's why people procrastinate. That's why we don't make decisions. And so I said, how about I ask myself this question? Anytime, and usually when it's a big question being asked at me, I'll say, does this have an ability to get me closer to my goal? And if I feel like it does, I say yes. And if I'm unsure, I say no. Anyway, that's enough on decision making for you.
It's actually fascinating. I absolutely can tell you that I used to always let myself off the hook in my 20s or 30s. It was a bit similar. There was something that really did happen in my 40s where I made a decision super quick. I've always made decisions quickly, but I would often change them, modify them, massage them so that I could, in 1,000 different ways, let myself down in 1,000 different ways. And I didn't know that that's what I was doing, but it was the same. It was procrastination, or it was perfectionism, or it was, you know, we've all heard of the imposter syndrome. Like I never thought that I was who other people perceived me to be. Anyway, the breakthrough for me was simply being disciplined or committed to the actual decision that I'd made at first. And when everything came up to challenge me, I would remind myself that I made the decision and that I had to stick with it. Now, and what I meant by that, it's a classic like Positive Prime. In order to create a business or a company like Positive Prime Technology, it requires an enormous amount of resources consistently and persistently. And there are 1,001 ways things don't go to plan in every single day or week or month, right? There are all sorts of tests. Do you really want to be doing this with your life? This is really tough, right? And then all of the little things that come in, it could be that one of the listeners here right now will send us an email to say, Positive Prime has helped me in this particular way. And I'll take that and it reinforces me. See, it was a good decision that I made to basically start Positive Prime and grow it and stay committed to it and keep going, right? So I'd like to add to that. Once you've made these decisions, gather the evidence so that when you have the wobbly moments, you can reinforce yourself. It's almost like you've got your own scaffolding, right? Absolutely. The really successful people I know, and I hang around with a lot of really successful people, they do make awesome decisions fast. They do. And they very rarely change the core of those decisions.
You know, I'm so glad you said that, because I left that part out. It's the commitment. You know, in fact, I don't know if it was Bob, but someone was saying, you know, a decision should be a committed decision. You shouldn't need to use the word committed, but we do, because people think, oh, I make the decision, but oh, then I need to kind of, you know, make, like you said, I need to massage, I need to make it feel better, look better because of all these different ideas. No, as you said, it's the key core ingredient. And this is the thing I do whenever, and by the way, I want to add to that, which is usually, especially people, as you said, in you know, doing high level things, making decisions to not only impact their own life, but impact potentially thousands and millions of other lives, we're going to get tested even more. As in, the universe or God will say, how much can you take, right? We get challenged more than most. And so whenever I have those moments where I feel like, you said, imposter, or feel like, you know, am I really the person that can do what I'm, you know, that I set out to do? I remind myself, why did you make the decision? Why did you say yes? And stick with that. And that's what I tell all of my clients as well. If you make a decision, whether it's with me or someone else, or most importantly, it's for yourself, when you make that decision and you're in those, like you said, wobbly moments, ask yourself, why did I make the decision? Why did I say yes? Because when you can go back to that initial moment, you can go, oh, okay, yep, I said that because whatever it might be. And for me, that's always helped. Does it mean it changes the feeling sometimes immediately? No. In fact, you know, sometimes, you know, my go-to is getting out in nature, going for a walk, because sometimes, especially if we're sitting here in front of the computer, you know, and with all these distractions popping up, all the different alerts and whatnot, you know, it's so easy to stay in that negative feeling. Or even better, if you are in front of the computer, get on a positive prime session. That's what I do. I have done many times, and it's actually made a huge difference, shifted my vibration. That wasn't a plug, by the way. It was just, that's what it is.
Hey, you can plug. That's all good. I'm actually really interested because, and now that you're working with clients across the world, like when it comes to positive priming and the positive prime platform, how do you use it? And then how does that translate in how you recommend it to your clients? So, and friends and family, like we all do.
Say that again.
And friends and family, you know, like not just clients. Let's not just have clients, you know.
No, well, I actually have my mum on the positive prime as well. You know, before I get to telling you about how I refer, or how I talk about it with clients, I just want to hone in on my mum, because my mum, Wendy, she got me into, she really kind of opened my eyes initially to personal development. We used to go to a bookstore called the Theosophical Bookstore, which is probably, you know, you might say a spiritual bookstore, but there's a lot of, you know, metaphysical. Actually, we used to go to another place, which was a metaphysical bookstore as well. So she kind of introduced me to spirituality and the understandings of the inner world. And at the age of 18, she recognized that I wasn't following that spiritual journey anymore. And she said, you know, what happened? And I said, well, I kind of felt like I was in the clouds too much, and I need to live in the real world. And of course, my view on this being the real world is very different now, but that was what I said when I was 18, right? It's a couple of years ago. And so Wendy, you know, she's been through some things in her younger years, and she got to, you know, she's 22 years older than me. And she got to a certain point where she made a decision based on what she saw me going through, or the changes she saw me having. And she said, do you think I can do that? Do you think I can have those changes? And I said, absolutely you can. And in fact, one of the things was, one of my clients is 73 now. She was 71 when we started. And she thought, oh, she's older than me. And she's doing something, like she'd been a pharmacist her whole life, and she decided to get into network marketing. She didn't even know how to turn on a computer. So let me tell you, there were a lot of sessions with her in tears, thinking what, and she would say to me, what the hell have I done? Why am I doing this? Anyway, and so I just wanted to highlight that, you know, my mum has been a huge factor in me doing what I do. And now the beautiful thing is, now I get to impact her, you know, in a positive way. Anyway, so how do I refer people to positive prime? Well, I mean, I do it online in social media. I obviously, not obviously, with my clients that come on board, I sometimes, in fact, most of the time, I bring Kim in to be one of the guest experts and share some information, especially on positive prime. But this time, I've got a new mastermind starting next week. And this time I said to Kim, I really want to not only get you in to explain it, but I want to actually have every single person who's going to have a positive prime account before she gets there. And then when she gets there, she can say, okay, this is, you know, these are the things you should focus on. This is how you can get the most out of it. And so, you know, I kind of utilize the tools. I've said to Kim, you know, in fact, Kim and I'm going on a quick tangent here. Kim and I moved to Noosa. And I saw on social media, it came up, suggested friend, Kim Serafini, and I'd seen the name before. And actually I was in another group, another mastermind group where positive prime was actually featured. And I remember the name and I saw that she was in Noosa. I was like, oh, I'm in Noosa. She's in Noosa. I'll send her a message. Now she didn't reply. I got a message from Mayumi, who's, who is her assistant. And Mayumi said, oh, you know, thanks for your message. Kim wanted me to reply to you and say, you know, she'll be in touch soon. She's not able to speak to you just yet, but would you be available in a couple of weeks? And I said, oh, yeah, sure. Now, less than a couple of weeks, I finally speak to Kim and she says, oh, I couldn't talk to you at the time because I was in hospital recovering from the heart not working. And so it's interesting that when this all transpired was right around the time that it, you know, the incident happened, or the last incident happened for Kim. And I remember thinking when we finally connected, I knew that this connection was going to be really, really important for me. And in fact, you know, I now feel like my connection with Kim and all of Positive Prime is really important as well. And so going back to the Positive Prime, how do I share it? Well, you know, it's a part of my life. And so I'm often talking about it. So I'm often sharing it. And I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like whenever you're doing something or whenever you're a part of something you really love and you really appreciate, you want to share it with other people. So I think it's kind of the quick answer, which I could have given you, is that it's organic and that it just happens and you just get it out. And so now I'm just trying to find ways that I can get it out to more people in a more conducive way where people can understand it and people can actually get into it. And hence why I said, hey, Kim, when you're coming this time, can you just give them the overview of how to really get the most out of this product that they've already got access to?
Awesome. I love
Hey,
that.
Benny.
I'm going to hand it over to Kim.
No,
I think
Benny,
that's
do
the
you know
best
what?
way.
Whilst we've got this opportunity, can you just tell us your Druid Circle story? Because Brett's got an equally good story. And if I was to answer Brett's question to his group right now, I would say the most critical way to leverage Positive Prime so that you can use it to achieve your goals and to supercharge your freedom is the process of personalizing, that is uploading photographs into it. And the nuance, or what's super subtle, is the journey that you go on asking yourself, what do I want? Without any judgment and without ever worrying about whether other people want that as well or not, or whether it's right or wrong to want that, or whether it makes you a good person or a bad person. Just what do I want? Now I say financially, you know, emotionally, physically, spiritually. What is it that I want professionally? What is it that I want personally? If I want to work with somebody, I go and get a photograph of them from Google and I upload it, and one day I want to work with them. If I want to go and watch the tennis at Wimbledon one year, I'll go and get some photographs of Wimbledon and I'll upload those. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually physically sending messages to the universe from a metaphysical point of view, declaring what it is that I want, and then surrendering and letting go and not getting all caught up in the how do I actually achieve that. It's just, what do I want? It's so perfect what you've talked about, Brett, right? Now, Benny, tell us about your Druid Circle story, because it's astonishingly gorgeous as a story.
Yeah, I'd love to. It's pretty, and I'll add to that, Kim. The interesting thing for me with, goal setting and, setting that statement out to the universe so it can come back to you is it's like just so simple to do on Positive Prime and do it once. Do you know what I mean? Like all the other times I've probably done stuff like this, I've written it in a notebook or something, and I just occasionally I would have like saved it to my phone. But as we know about Positive Prime, the flooding of the brain and the fact that the images move faster, it doesn't allow you to look at your phone and go, oh, that's not me. Oh, I'm a loser. Like, it just doesn't allow you to have that thought. It just goes, yeah. So anyway, I'd set it quite a while ago, and it wasn't with the intention to find a place to live that had a druid circle, like a druid circle, a Celtic circle, very spiritual place. Most people know Stonehenge is the famous one in the UK. I'm not sure if that's a circle actually, but that sort of set up from that era. Anyway, I put it in my Positive Prime because I just wanted to tap back into my ancestral roots, which are from the UK. And so I put this beautiful picture of this stone circle in, and along with retreat center, co-working spaces, all this kind of stuff, and co-living. I work on a farm sometimes, and I've lived in co-living, and I want to get back to doing that again. Anyway, I just got offered the lease on a place to take up next year, and it's it's an old retreat place, so it's got spa sauna, all this stuff. It's not functioning anymore, but that would be my house. It's got a full garden on the river, and out the back, it's got like one of the oldest oak trees in New South Wales, just sitting there, it's got an art studio and a druid circle out the back. Like this fellow had pulled in these stones from, gone to excruciating effort to get this set up in the perfect way, because his lineage is Irish. And it was just weird because we were having a podcast yarn, and I didn't click about how wild that is, because you never know what, maybe I'll never ever get back to the UK and get to go and do what my intention was, to go and sit in a druid circle over there. But now I've suddenly found one here. It's kind of like 40 minutes down the road, and I should be moving there next year. So yeah, that's my druid circle story. Love to hear yours, Brett.
I love that, Benny. Brett, don't you love that? Because one of the greatest lessons that we can actually share with others is that our dreams do become reality, and often not in the way that we thought that they would. And if you're not wide open, mind open, heart open, if your energy is not open to receiving in the way and shape and form that is designed in your best interests, right, for your higher self, you miss the magic. See, Brett, you've used Positive Prime in the same kind of way, haven't you? You've found photographs that represent some of the things that you want, and they've actually, miraculously. Well, it's really because you're the co-creator energetically.
Let me share one, because I don't think it's as exciting as a druid circle, but it was exciting for me because I'd moved to Noosa, and I had a decent, my car was okay, but I needed a new car, or I made a decision I needed a new car. And I wanted to have a fairly new car, and I wanted to have certain things. And so I said, why don't I use my Positive Prime to manifest what I actually want? Because, and I'll premise this, is that, when you've got a new business, at that time it was a year old, you got a new business, and, and you're putting out, a lot of, I was making good money, but I was actually putting most of it out, paying for all these other things that are related to the business, including upgrading myself. And so my reality was not showing me that it was possible. I still didn't have a great credit rating. And so I was, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this. And I was getting knocked back from quite a few places. And I thought, no, I'm going to get this car. And so initially I'd put in a Volkswagen, what's that four-wheel drive? Volkswagen four-wheel drive, SUV, sorry. And I thought that was it. And then eventually I'm sort of, working through, I'm going to the car yards and I'm working through what the car is that I want. And then I thought it was going to be this Mercedes GLA. And then I found this Peugeot this Peugeot 3008, which I know somebody in this room has one as well. And I didn't know at the time. Yeah, it's Kim. And I didn't know at the time. I just saw her car yesterday. And I was like, hang on a minute. I didn't even know you had the same car as me. Anyway, I don't know how we didn't have that conversation. Anyway, I see this car, and funny enough, at the same car yard where Kim got hers. And I see this car, it's blue, and it's actually called magnetic blue. Now, what sort of work do? I work with the law of attraction, magnetic blue. And blue, by the way, was the exact same color as the branding color for my freedom coaching business. So I thought, oh, that's handy. It had 33,300 kilometers on the clock, 333. And if you look up 333, you'll find out why that's significant. And I actually I'd actually already bought a number plate, VIB 333. And you might think, well, what's VIB? What's VIB 333 mean? Well, if you think of a 3 as a number, as a letter E, turn the 3 into an E, it's a vibe. The vibe, law of vibration, which actually is the primary universal law to the law of attraction, which is a secondary law. Anyway, didn't mean to give you a lesson. Anyway, so I see the car and I'm thinking, oh, maybe. And then I was looking back at the Mercedes and I thought, no, actually, I don't need a prestige thing at this point. I just want to have a good quality car that's comfortable. I can do long drives because I have to go and pick up my son from Brisbane every week. And I should say I get to. I don't have to. I get to. I love it. Anyway, and this one, I'm going through the positive prime sessions, and this one lone person, right, was taking forever. But every time I spoke to him, he said, I think we'll get this. I think it's okay. And for some reason, I was just comfortable allowing him to go through the process. And so I kept, and by the way, just to premise, I didn't just go, oh yeah, he's going to do it. I still kept applying at different places and not affecting my credit rating, by the way. Like, I still kept applying to see whether I could get it through someone else. And every time I'd speak to him, he'd go, yeah, look, it's coming along. Just, give me another week or so and see how we go. Now, it took about 4 weeks, 4 weeks. But eventually he said, I've got you a deal. And the deal was great. And it was exactly how much I wanted to spend. And it was exactly the term that I wanted. And so it was miraculous. And the only thing that I was really doing different, other than putting in the action and believing, was actually doing the positive prime sessions. And I was changing the imagery in there as well, by the way. Once I made the decision, actually, this is the car, I put all the photos, the interior, the exterior, all of that in the actual, in the positive prime session. There you go.
Alrighty, so if you're listening, please do yourself a favor, right? You are worthy and deserving of it. We love you enough. We hope you love yourself enough. Find the time, make the time, create the time. Spend a little bit of time. Think about what it is that you want in just one area. Find a few photographs. Do you want to go to Venice one day, right? Or do you want to walk along the beach because you've decided to have a vacation with your family, wherever that is, or go to the Rocky Mountains? Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what the answer is. Whatever it is for you, go get a couple of photographs and then save them to your computer, upload them into Positive Prime in the personalizing, and make sure that you view your sessions with your personal photos. And of course, in case you've missed this bit, make sure there are lots of photographs of you and or your family and a pet, because energetically, you need to identify with the content. So you need to actually put yourself inside the content in order for you to accelerate the manifestation and in order for you to amplify the energy around that manifestation. For those of you who are into the metaphysics, right? So lots of photographs of you so that you manifest for yourself.
Can I add one bit?
Yeah.
Can I add one bit? Because I absolutely love what you're saying. And I tell you, there's one session that I really love that really helps me. It's called Supercharge Your Mind, Supercharge Your Life. And that's a plug for myself. I don't know if it'll come across egotistical, but I love watching my own session. And I think the reason is, like you just said, I'm seeing more of myself, even though I've got my own imagery in there for myself. Actually, my session has me in it as well. So I'm getting a double dose. I'm double dipping.
And you know what, to that point, I do have to be super honest with everyone. So if you're an annual subscriber of Positive Prime, so this is a plug, we actually have a service that's a gift only if you're an annual subscriber. And that is, we create something called a super mix for you. So you can have, you know, 5 of your favorite sessions or 10 of your favorite sessions, and they're like smashed, mixed and merged, integrated into one session. So you press play, and it's extremely huge in terms of the numbers of frames that then flow past you quickly. Well, I can reveal that Brett D. Scott's session is one of those in my personal super session, right? Absolutely it is. So I see Brett every single day. I do think the content is marvelous, and you know, I'm actually reinforced or reminded or gently coached by Brett. It's his phraseology, like his words, the way that he expresses some of these ideas is different to the way that I hear it from some others. And so it's just a very nice way for me to constantly be reinforced with these really incredible messages. And of course, you know, my personal super mix, I can tell you there's Anita Green session, there's Janet Danielson's session, there's one from Dana Wilde, there's one from Christine Tiley. I could go on and on and on. But anyway, Brett's session is absolutely my own personal super mix.
Can I tell you one abstract one that I really like? And everyone should check this one out. Mind Your Mind by Michael Roper. He's a similar coach to myself, a mindset coach. His is real, like, I don't know if you've seen it. It's really unusual. And it really gets me. It's like, oh, this is really quirky and kind of has an Egyptian feel to it as well at times. It's outer space, it's Egyptian, it's kind of, yeah, unusual.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. Yeah, Michael Roper's is excellent. He's also a gorgeous human, a really wonderful guy based in London. So thank you. I feel like we're rounding out the hour. We appreciate everybody being here. Brett, I think you've been very generous with what you're sharing. I hope that people really take it to heart. Maybe listen to it again. There were gems that you actually weaved through that were more potent than most people might even seem at first listening. Would you agree, Benny?
Yeah. Weave is the perfect word, you know. Lots of gems. And I'd love to just touch on something you said, Kim, which you've probably said a million times, but you know, when people say things and then they don't land for you, you just said gently coached. And I think for us, we don't need to be gently coached because we've spent tens of thousands of dollars on coaching and coaching programs and with all these amazing mentors. But a lot of people can think about coaching, oh, that's a little bit just too hectic or too busy. I don't know if I could deal with that at the moment. I don't need a coach. And I think that the Positive Prime platform allows, yeah, me too. I was like, I don't want to coach. I got in it through flow states but anyway, yeah, the gently coached idea is beautiful because you can watch a session and you get I love the word infusement of that coach without having to directly jump on a call and go through all that stuff. But it might be the catalyst that takes you on that path to work with Brett, to work with Nadine, to work with Christine or whoever it is, depending on who you're watching, or Kim or myself. So yeah, amazing. If you want to be gently coached, check out a Positive Prime session.
You know, Benny, it's actually happened. Like, that's happened where someone said, oh, I've been watching your session. They reach out to me. But what I was going to say as well is, you know, I think you were hitting the nail on the head, both of you were, which is part of the problem for a lot of us. And I think I kind of mentioned this earlier, which is one of the gems maybe you're alluding to, Kim, which is most of us in life are thinking, I've done that before. Oh yeah, I've heard that before. Oh yeah, I know that. And in fact, that's how I used to operate as well. Slap across the face is what I should get. And the reason I'm saying that is that if you can let go of thinking you've heard it before or thinking you know that, and just remember, because I remember when Bob Proctor said for 57 years he'd been reading the same book every single day, that Think and Grow Rich book by Napoleon Hill, I thought, you're a lunatic. Why would you, and what the hell, excuse my language, what the heck can you be getting out of this same book? And I'll tell you what he's getting, because I'm on the 24th round of it in the last 3 years, and 60 other books. I had a look at my library, just my audio library, by the way. I do a lot of Audible, and I can tell you what it is that as your awareness expands and as you actually learn more things, when you go back to some things, or even if you go back second, third, fourth, however many times, you're going to get something new. In fact, I'll tell you, I was listening to Think and Grow Rich. I was listening to 2 books, and the last book I listened to before I got here to Brisbane was Think and Grow Rich, and it hit me, and I was like, I don't even remember him saying this. And he said, I'm going to leave you with this one, and I'll shut up after this. He said, think about the mind like a radio station, radio waves, right? And he said that your brain is like the switching station, as in when somebody does something for the radio, the signal, the frequency has to change, so it's not actually discernible to the human ear, so that it can travel to its destination, and then it's received on another end where the frequency is attuned. And he said, and that is exactly how thoughts work. And I thought, oh my gosh, I hadn't heard this before. I had heard it, I didn't understand it, right? And so that's the point, is that your awareness expands. And so if you can just do one thing for yourself, stop giving yourself the excuse that you've heard it before, you've done it before, you know this already. No, you don't. If you're saying that to yourself, you probably really are so far away from it that you don't even realize. That's it from me.
Yay! That was fantastic. Really
Awesome
strong
wrap up.
finish. Yeah, thank you. Thank you, thank you,
Welcome.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. So true. Hey, Brett, I'm not sure if
Yes.
you know this, but I've been teaching the content of Think and Grow Rich for a long time. And there are actually positive prime sessions that are for each chapter.
Yes,
Right?
I know. I've seen them.
So for those people who want the messages reinforced and then reinforced and then reinforced so that it's actually looping, watch a couple of Think and Grow Rich positive prime sessions as well. And you're right, you pick up something new and different, or you perceive it in a fresh way, or it lands at just the moment where you can somehow actually fathom a different intention of the message. It is an extraordinary journey that we're on.
I agree. Love it. Thank you.
Thanks,
You know-
Brett. Thanks, Kim. Thanks to everyone who's listening in, wherever you are.
You know, I said I wouldn't talk anymore, but you know, it's just one thing I want. There's just one thing I want to say. You know, because I mentioned it before. You know, Napoleon Hill, he wrote, or the actual book Think and Grow Rich was released in 1937. But you know where he actually wrote that book, where he actually penned it, was sitting in his room at the White House. So he actually had helped 2 different presidents at different times. And during the Great Depression was when he wrote Think and Grow Rich, because he was in the White House helping the president to lift up the spirits of the people, the American people. And he tells this story about he's walking down the hallway and the president says to him, you know, how's everything going and what's happening, and you're getting paid all right? And Napoleon said, oh, I'm not getting paid. He said, what do you mean you're getting paid? He said, no, I'm not getting paid. And he said, oh, you know, what do you want to be paid? And he said, oh, doesn't really matter. He said, just pay me $1. Pay me $1 a year, right? Now, you might think, what a ludicrous thing. Why would he say $1? You're speaking to the president. Why don't you say, oh, give me $1 million or give me 100,000? But the reason he said $1 was because he was genuinely there to help. Like, he was genuinely there to help. And then what came to him, and why this book is so widely revered, is because not only was it that 25 years of interviewing and studying and really formulating this new modern version of a philosophy of success, is that he had the time, because he wasn't like, oh, I'm here at the White House, I'm being paid all this money. Not being really paid anything. He's there to help, but he got to work on his life work. And that's what this book is. And that's why it's so important. Anyway, I really wanted to share it.
Yeah, so there's another gem. Oftentimes when we're giving the most, we're actually receiving the most inspiration. We're receiving something priceless in the energy field. That's been the case for how exactly it is that I invented Positive Prime. It's also been the case for, you know, what is emerging right now. It was most definitely the case when I invented, you know, lithos therapy. It was most definitely the case when I sat down and wrote, I'm grateful for life. Absolutely. It's so true. It's so true. Don't worry. Everything's going to be all right. You are so loved.
Yep, absolutely. The universe has your back.
Does indeed. Does indeed.